Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Azagar here, bringing you another video for Conqueror's Play published by Porus Interactive. This is going to be the update log for September 12th. Um, so, going straight into it. So, we got the maintenance for 3.5 hours on the Asia side. So, well, the Frontier servers, so it's goes from 8 to 11:30, September 12th, UCC plus 8. The maintenance is expected to last, yeah, 3.5 hours. We get, sorry, 8,000 bronze coins, 400 honor, 20 unit medals. For those used in the Americas and EU, just give me 2 seconds, because apparently I didn't click on the right link, or they gave me the wrong link. Yours will be 7 to 10, September 12th, UTC plus 1, 8,000 bronze coin, 300 honor, and 15 unit medals. Everything else should be basically the same. Now, there are a bit of a different names here, but I think it should be basically the same. So, the first thing is, this one's going to be very short, but because it's preparing for the new season, we shall get the new season next week, but um, hopefully we get some more. Ah, man. I'm hoping like the unit trailer happens tomorrow. We also have like the sign up for the PTR just happening. So there's that. Anyway, Doctrine Pool rotation. We have Bold Advance is now available. In Bold Advance, the chance to excavate epic melee cavalry doctrine is increased. I don't think Bold Advance is some kind of doctrine. It's just probably the name of the excavation field. It goes from 12th of September after maintenance to 29th of September before maintenance. So we got what, two? That does not seem like 2 weeks. What's the 19th? That's a really weird day. It goes from the 12th to the 29th of September, which ends on a Sunday. What's happening on the 30th Monday? Interesting. That's an interesting date because it falls on a non-update day. Because it doesn't fall on a Wednesday nor does it fall on a Thursday, so that's a bit weird. Adjustment and optimization, transfer stuff. So after a successful transfer request for the season reservation, the transfer will take place during the maintenance of the new season. After the transfer, items and resources in the inventory, supply dump, wagons, and supply piles will be automatically transferred to the new server, excluding items in storage within the auctioneers. During the transfer, it is not possible to carry items, resources that have been listed by the auctioneer, as well as unclaimed items and resource piles. It is advised to empty the auctioneer before maintenance to avoid any losses. In order to minimize potential losses caused by the issue above, the item listing function for the auctioneer will be temporarily disabled from September 12th after maintenance until September 19th before the next maintenance. During this period, the purchase removal and resource pile collection of items already listed will not be affected. So we got number 3. We have bug fixes and optimization. Fix the issue of abnormal task redirection in Greetings of Beacon. Fix the issue where players may use mortal artillery remaining in eagle eye view when they switch to the eagle eye view during the process of taking over the artillery. Huh, interesting. So somehow people were using a series of buttons to get onto an artillery and stay in an eagle-eyed view. So this would most likely be directed at artillery that has blue indicators, so mortar or Scorpio. There's also the catapult, but I don't think in this case it cares about that one. Other than that, I don't really see what else you could have used this for, but again, certainly mortars would be a serious big problem. Optimize the effect description of the Doctrine Artemis without changing the current actual effect. Fix the issue of the abnormal outline and shadows of high tier Oh, abnormal outlines of high tier, shadows of high tier, blazing plumes attire. Fix the issue of the overlapping text effects of hero mode's action divination. Fix the issue where the battering ram could not break the city gates of um Abruvia? Abruvia? Nah, I don't know how to say that. In Territory Wars. Again, there's a lot of Territorial War maps that have unique maps, even though they're very similar to maps. I know for a fact that certain forts use Wall Fort, but they use a variation of Wall Fort that has other things in it or certain differences that are unique to the map. So there's like several variations to maps that are not present. Well, I mean, yeah, that's with like a lot of things. So these are just like they're not going to be completely the same as your siege battles, of course. They're territorial war maps, so they're slightly different. And again, they need to kind of fix the balances on a lot of them. I know one I know one thing that's a really big problem is that certain maps causes has still has the collision even though you destroy the wall. So you can't walk through, but your units can, but the hero can't. So it's just kind of like those weird things that happen sometimes. So that is all for this update log, and just for funsies sake, I'm also going to go cover some other things. So they've done some articles. Well, they've done this game update review, which was an interesting read. So I'll just go through it really quickly, and I'll just comment on it as like I rush through it. So this covers 23 to 24. So obviously we get the Nightfall update. Again, we kind of crossed over between like um Eternals. I mean, again, I don't know why they didn't include Scorpio, which kind of crossed over into the new year, and they didn't include Eternals. Um, I feel like Eternals was a huge negative, so I think that's why they didn't put it down. Um, the Crescent Monks had a bug. The Yanyu Daos were buffed into the Stratosphere. So, eh, okay, they started with Nightfall season, or maybe this is when they started in taking the comments more seriously. But regardless, new Nightfall users. Obviously, Krieg Brothers hit the floor. Surround the Bandits, best unit for Surround the Bandits. Strongest, I mean, like, you'll never lose the Krieg Brothers. They're very difficult to let them die. They have the best sustain out of any cavalry. Like, it's not the most difficult cavalry to kill. It just has the best sustain. Like if you had a cavalry with lifesteal, this is basically the closest thing you got to cavalry with lifesteal. Keep the balance between performance and graphics. Obviously, you always want really high performance and really good graphics. Always prioritize performance over graphics. No one likes good graphics but can't run shit. So Red Rabbit. This was supposed to be called NVIDIA. I don't know why they called it this, but it's supposed to be NVIDIA. So someone definitely translated this. For game performance upgrade, a complete overhaul of the underlying code leads to significant increase in frame rate at the same graphics quality, providing an unprecedented stable gaming experience. Again, I agree. I think they definitely improved. You don't have any more stutters when you just get completely covered in fire anymore. Though I think the fire effect is pretty oppressive sometimes. The smoke created from the Cyphernaroids are super annoying. You can't see shit when you get shot with it, and you can't see shit when you're shooting stuff. Players say the frame rate is maintained around 100 or higher. The battle are more exhilarating than ever. Okay, I think they created this one. I don't think players actually said that, but if a player did say it, fine. I think that this is a little bit. Uh, I think this is a little bit hyperbolic, to say the very least. No one realistically cares once you go over like 60. For me personally, I don't care once you go over 60 frame rates because I can't visually see anything over. I can't visually notice anything over 60. I know when it's under 60. I know it's very obvious when it's under 60, but when it's over 60, I can't tell the difference honestly. But that's maybe because like I cap my screen can go up to 144. But anyway, that's besides the point. Unibound development strategy. Oh man, this one I want to shoot somebody for this one. Prioritizing player feedback. Again, not a bad thing, but also it's a bad thing. Um, Especially vocal players. Sometimes they don't know shit. Prioritizing player feedback, that like there is there is a difference between feedback and suggestions. I want to also make that distinction. Player suggestions and voting results guide the development of units. That is utterly garbage because players are very much biased. Very much biased. Like every single person would be biased. Developers as well. But the aim I want to stress is that feedback is way more important than the suggestions themselves because the suggestions are very easy to extrapolate from whatever the player's feedback is. And whatever the player's feedback is can be very, very important in kind of understanding what direction the player is coming from and where they want to go. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that make suggestions without thinking too much about them. I'm seriously doubting whether or not the developers understand the consequences of some of their actions, especially when they decided to uncap the Varangian Guards on sometime after their release. That was probably the single worst mistake they have ever done. Besides completely wiping out all of the progress of the Scorpio season, all of the balance updates from like pre-Scorpio seasons into the Scorpio season. Eternals set you back probably. Eternals literally set you back. Um, Probably back to like storm to like to the snowstorm era, and we got like reoccurrence back in the tyranny era. But there's been a lot of things, a lot of balance changes over the time that everyone will probably criticize, but maybe it's just I've been around for too long and I've been hurt too many times. But yeah, that's what I want to stress that players' feedback is more important than just taking the player suggestions and this voting suggestion thing. Voting is great to understand player sentiment, and it is probably easier to filter out certain suggestions that are disliked, but there are very much times where the I say minority, the vocal section, especially those on Discord, you should sometimes not listen to them only because they have certain biases which are much a very much possibly a kind of echo chamber because people don't bother anymore when they get suppressed. So you only get a scenario where everyone is agreeing with each other because they want the game, because they want their game, or they think about it's for their own benefit, basically. But you want real discussions, you want real hard choices being made in order for the betterment of the game. And when I say the betterment of the game, I don't mean just, oh, players should feel better, players need to be more powerful and play for. No, you want to make the game better. You want to fix problems and issues that don't stem from, oh, this is weak, this is bad, this is like too strong. You want to fix it so that mechanically the units are intriguing, the player is the player action is impactful, and obviously agency is really important. So no matter what the player does, they need to be able to do stuff. If they can't do stuff, you got a problem. You want to give them choices, I'm saying. But sometimes you also want to restrict the number of choices so that they don't have unlimited choices because too much freedom is too hard to monitor, and too little freedom feels like they're not even playing the game. And that's what kind of what we're doing right now is we've come this weird direction where player choices are actually being funneled in a predictable pattern, which is very strange. It's not strange, but it's just like people don't realize this, but they're kind of like circling around a couple of units, which by far probably the longest loop we probably have because it's just like, oh, this unit beat this unit beat this unit. So it's just like, oh, cool. There's a whole bunch of units that beat each other. More versatility and variety of units, that is. Sword and shield unit, versatile in attack and defense, particularly excelling in fighting with range units on their own. Again, this is trying to develop something that should not need to be explained. These units or units types in general should not need to be explained as what their purposes be. You have three main infantry types. You got the pole arm, you have the heavy shield, and you have the sword and shield. The pole arm literally uses a weapon that has longer reach, but it doesn't have a shield. So what exactly this type of unit should be doing is dealing damage and using its range to its advantage. So it should have a higher base damage and have a better range than the other two. The heavy shield unit, as described in the name, is more about the shield than their attacking power. So these guys should be way better at defending themselves. And the sword and shield, again, it's still a shield unit, so they have a defensive capability. So, but it's not a heavy shield, so it needs to be less than the heavy shield. So you can compensate that by giving them extra attack ability, but it cannot be stronger than the polearm unit. And again, that's just definition by like that's just defining the three. You don't need to actually keep that solid. You could create a polearm unit that is crazy tanky, something like the Medows. You can create a heavy shield unit that's not always about defense, and you can go for something like mixture of defense and attack like stalwarts, or you can go for something that's really strange and go for Mermiolones. They're not particularly hard to kill before the buff, of course. Um, they were not particularly hard to kill, and they were fairly squishy for a heavy shield unit, though. While in formation, they're kind of annoying to deal with because um, the first hit will there's some reduction on it. So it's just like when you hit them out, it's just like, wow, that didn't do very much damage. So you need to keep hitting them. The sword and shield units obviously has the most flexibility because you can go either direction. You can make them super defensive like paladins, or you can make them super offensive. Something like I mean, ASAPs have a lot of back and forth. So a sword and shield unit that's really offensive. Not really one in my mind. Probably condottieri or let's say prefecture guards. They're quite offensive driven. You got the Seregs as well, heavy offense. Um, but yeah, like you got that versatility when you think about the dynamics of each of the units and how the types can kind of vary. Lance Cavalry. Various forms of special impact abilities should not replace the additional charge skills. I've never heard anyone ask this. I've never heard anyone say this. Honestly, I think all cavalry should have a form of charge skill. I did not realize that people like I understand that special cavalries were somehow just better somehow, especially when the Yanyadals were like beating out a lot of cavalry charges. Like I think you could go toe to toe with a Winged Hussar with the Yanyadal. Like you can trade with the Winged Hussar. Red Unleashed versus the Winged Hussar. I'm pretty sure you don't lose, but you don't win either. So you'll either kill each other or the Yanyadals will stop the majority and just get cocked in the meantime. The Zwanji Heavy Cavalry is also in the same boat. They win a lot of direct charges, but they don't win against Winged Hussars. I think Winged Hussars is literally the only one that can kill the Zwanji Heavy Cavalry. I think every other charge loses to the Zwanji Heavy Cavalry, especially if they press Weapon Veteran at the right time. Um, because Zwanji Heavy Cavalry are either much tankier than the other stuff, or they deal so much damage that they'll just one tap the charging cavalry. So there's just that. I don't like this next part either. It says archers ultra long range should be able to suppress enemy ranged units and shieldless units. Again, this is this is completely incorrect in my mind because what you're describing a is kind of like a counter or form. This is the exact same as saying that polearm should counter cavalry. It's like it's something that doesn't need to be said, but it's also something that they're forcing. Like I don't think it needs to be said that Archer's longer range is better than shorter range units. That's like something that doesn't need to be said. But suppressing other ranged units with archers just if you make archers more effective against ranged units, you're gonna get to a point where archers are just the best ranged units because they kill other ranged units and they deal enough damage. Or you're gonna get a scenario where no other ranged units can be on the field as long as an archer is on the field, and that's what's happening with longbows, where you have better archers, but longbows are effective enough against both the archers and normal units now. So you end up with just the main archer unit just so you're just gonna get this main any ranged unit be the most viable because as long as they're on the field, every other ranged unit is basically moot. I also don't like this one either because never in in anything I've seen does people like the multi-target attacks for crossbows. Because this is stupid. I think this is a stupid mechanic, and I mean, I'd be all for getting rid of this. Crossbows in history are not like how they present in CB. This mechanic. There's only four actual crossbow units in game, and only two of them have multi-target attacks. Only two of them have penetrating bolts. That is Pavis and the Nemez Arbalist. The Demez crossbowmen and the winged crossbowmen do not have penetrating bolts. That is guaranteed. There is no way those two units have penetrating bolts, and I don't understand why they think crossbow units are supposed to be like this. They're not. They're straight up not. what? Sorry, and I didn't even say what it was. But crossbows, their penetrating multi-target attack can suppress attacking units, but have difficulties in dealing with shielded units. Every single ranged unit in the game basically struggles with shielded units. That is not even a question. That is what happens. You are either Siphonari's, you're special where you don't care about shields or if you hit a shield, or um or you have block break, which pretty much only amounts to three that I can think off the top of my head. Because I don't even think. Okay, first of all, you got Akawazias, they got block break. In the Imperial Akawazias, they got block break. Then you got Tertial, they got block break. Um, Pavis got block break as well, so that's four. I'm pretty sure there's not that many units that have block break. I do know for some strange reason the knockback on the on the winged crossbowman goes through block. So either the last attack effect is unblockable or there's something weird's happening. Besides that, it, this interaction between range and shields utterly garbage anyway. Um, oh, Shenji also has block break on it. But yeah, like it's just another thing that shouldn't be said. Like crossbows need to have an identity essentially. They're trying to push multi-target. I don't understand why, because it frankly is just doesn't work out, and also it causes issues because you have well, it doesn't cause issues because they make the multi-target penalty so high. Originally it was 50, right now it's 40, and it's actually a nerf because the last time they touched it, um, the the amount was 30, and so it would be 70. So it would be this is for Pavis only. I don't even think they haven't. I don't even think they are going to touch the Demez Arquebuzia, the Demez Arbalist, because if they touch the Demez Arbalist and all of a sudden the Chevaliers just go out of control again, um, no one's going to like that. And I'm pretty sure everyone's going to get PTSD again because Chevaliers literally is two units that you need to worry about, and it's the combination that makes it the most difficult because cavalry will just roll over any infantry, and then anything that's not shielded will just get shot to pieces by the Demezopolis. That is to say, that isn't to say that like crossbow units aren't weak. They are. They take too much to get to even a reasonable level. And even the winged crossbowmen, you're not using them for their DPS. You're using them because they're harder to kill and they have sustain. Not that it's any good, they just have it. I mean, also to do with their range actually being adequate because they're not held back by penetrating bolt, and also their ability is actually fairly strong because I think it has like reduced. It either does a massive increase in damage or reduces the damage drop off. So they're dealing more damage at longer ranges than normal crossbowmen. So it's just like whatever. Firearms, single target, high damage, low accuracy, and fire rate. Increased numbers are needed to ensure attack efficiency. Absolutely correct to say. Are they doing that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Ashiksaru, I hate the name by the way. It should be Ashigarus. The Ashiksaru Musketeers, great single target, great damage. Accuracy, it's really high. Fire rate, low. It's only slightly faster than the Imperial Arquebusiers, and as a whole, with more units on the 28, it's probably just as fast as the Kriegs at their lower 21 units or something. But honestly, it frankly is just the structure of it is just really bad because the amount of damage they do per target too low. Their accuracy really high. They're gonna hit something. Their numbers pretty decent. You can get up to 28. I they they need to stop They need to try to prevent units, especially ranged units, to stop every single one of the models aiming at one person. They need to stop that. They need to spread out their damage and get more kills instead of overkilling someone and then all of their bullets for some reason just either don't hit a secondary target or just disappear. Because there's a lot of times I'm looking at these musket these these uh, these projectiles that are shot at a particular target. He dies, flies straight through the next target. Doesn't even hit the next target, just flies straight through. I'm not sure how they do these things. I'm not sure how the projectiles work. Archers in particular, really good. Their projectile speed is slow and they have some kind of collision. I literally ran into a volley from archers the other day where it was aiming a particular person, but I ate the shot. This is the same with like a lot of javelins and stuff where it feels like they have actual projectiles. Musket just feels like a hit scan. The melee cavalry, it's a little bit weird. The lack of numbers is one of the reasons for weakness, but not the main one. Future improvements will focus on enriching mechanics. Again, design issue. Melee cavalry are too squishy, easy to stop. They're so dazable. Right now, the two best cavalry in the game are things that are very difficult to lock up. That's the Zwanji Heavy Cavalry and the Companion Cavalry, two of the best cavalry in the game. And yes, I have visually and verified that Companion Cavalry are daze immune. That is crazy that it's not mentioned anywhere, and it is crazy that no one cares to mention that as a fact because I'm seriously at a point where if companion cavalry are not dazable, every single cavalry shouldn't be. The fact that I can daze Courtiers, I can daze Ironcap Swordsman is more annoying than not being able to daze companion cavalry. Not because I play them, but because of the inconsistency. I seriously think there needs to be more consistency across the board or some kind of structure. Maybe lower tier units just like, oh yeah, we'll just say it's it's more annoying that you get these differences than it is that differences just exist. Because for me, the tier system is broken, the type system is broken, because first the type systems don't matter at this point. They're just general outlines of units, but there's so many specials for a lot of things that they just break the mold constantly rather than adhere to one particular generic type, which makes sense because if you just had everything just kind of be genericized, it would be like fighting with the same unit over and over again, which honestly would make balancing easier, but people like units being unique. Fine. I just think I just think it's just really annoying when something one way and the other thing's the other way. But I mean, in this case, I really do think that cavalry should definitely be harder to pin down, but you should still have tools to pin them down. What I mean by that as well is I want I want my unit to be able to hit cavalry, and I want my units to be able to stop cavalry with their bodies. Because right now, a lot of cavalry abilities just don't give a shit about infantry and will just go straight through you, whether or not you're standing in the way, invincible or not. cavalry charges phases right through everything. I've not seen very many abilities from cavalries where they give a shit about collision with the enemy. Nearly every single I'm pretty sure every single charge does not care. I don't think I've ever seen a charge care about if they hit something. Maybe Spahis, but even then, the Spahis only slow down. They don't actually technically care. They'll still keep charging through. It just that's slightly slower. What players say? More and more dormant units are making a comeback. Kudos for the ongoing efforts in rebalance. Flavor of the month kind of thing. I don't think any real player that plays this game would say would say that because realistically, it's not that dormant units are making a comeback because of ongoing balancing efforts. It's literally because players are bored as hell playing the same unit over and over again, so they're bringing up units that people don't use and just discovering that they're really good. Or they've been buffed to the point where they're competing at some level. Take Aceps for one. I honestly think Aceps should have been meta, didn't become meta. They're super strong though, but they're kind of like a sleeper dormant thing. For some reason, you have units just pulling things out of their ass as well. Before the Murmillones buff hit, people were using them. Obviously, you also have plenty of sleeper units like from Sengoku. People keep forgetting that Onimushas still do technically what the Wu Wei do, but they're easier to kill. But they will eat through anything. Or the Orochis as well. Again, another sleeper pick that's really devastating in the right circumstances. Again, their burst is crazy strong. Unfortunately, their uptime is terrible. They've also got very slow impact. Their delay makes it very difficult to use against cavalry as well. Overall, there are more units now than there were back in Scorpio. I totally agree that you can use way more units, but that set of units versus the Scorpio set of units, I'd rather go back to Scorpio because it was more fun for me back in Scorpio than it is now. Even though I could probably make do with more units now than I did back then. But again, personal preferences here. Adjustment of unit leadership. Leadership of nearly 100 units have been reduced so that you can give full play to your strategies of unit combinations. Again, this is a symptom of a problem. That is tier system and leadership cost. The tier system is tragic because it fails at the fundamentally dividing the different sorry. There is no point to the tier system. You can remove the tier system and limit the player to the number of units. If the number of unit was either 3 or 4, I think people would be fine with that. The problem here is that people people are riding on units that either are very cost effective or very strong for leadership. Like again, probably just cost effective in general, but that will always lead to units that are on the higher end. And that makes sense because you should always be using more of your leadership. I mean, sorry, your units at a higher tier should always fundamentally be more cost effective than units of a lower tier. It wouldn't make any sense to have lower tier units be more cost effective than your higher tier units. Because if your higher tier units cannot perform against your lower tier units at a cost effective level, there is a serious issue with balancing there. And I don't mean like to say, oh, like unit faces off against this unit 1 to 1. No, I mean, sorry. like you can have like a tier 5 unit face off against two tier 3s. No, that's not what should happen. If you have a tier 5 unit face off against two tier 3s, you're going to lose that tier 5. If you have a tier 5 face off against one tier 3 and then another tier 3, you'll lose your tier 5, but you'll win against you'll trade the against the other tier 3s. In my mind, that's I don't know how to explain it, but like that's how it should work. Anyway, that's like what I think the problem with the tier system and the leadership problems and how the leadership problem should tie into the tier system. Sorry, the tier system should the leadership there should be a flat leadership for every single unit. Every single unit should have a structure of leadership. I think tier 1 should all be 60, tier 2 should be 120, tier 3 should be 180, tier 4 should be 240, and tier 5 should be 300. This way, you have a set structure. Leadership also should be capped at some level, either some nice 220. I mean, sorry, not 220. Some nice number like 600 or let's say 780. Between there seems like a good number to have. It you can have many combinations of things and you just slapping in units. It's not hard that way. You don't need to carry the one or figure out like thing. Also, get rid of the leadership doctrine. They're bloody useless. I think doctrines in general are should be removed. Veterancy should be removed as well. Mastery should be removed. Masteries shouldn't really be used to balance the unit. The unit itself needs to be balanced. Masteries itself makes things more difficult to balance if you have to. Again, like this goes to like units like Kriegsrat, where the base unit got nerfed to the ground, while the mastery version is basically the same and it's the mastery version that's causing the issue, but they don't address the issue. Instead, they nerf something in order to make a weakness. What the player says, more diverse unit options to help you avoid wavering in the battlefield. I don't know whoever said this. I think more diverse units. I think no one cares about more diverse unit. They just want to bring their strongest units, and people can bring more tier 3. Like you can bring you don't have to choose the cheapest tier 5s anymore. People can easily bring three tier 5s like that. Like I think most setups are now triple tier 5s. I don't think there's anyone that runs two tier 5s and a tier 4 that I see in like some of the rank battles I play. I think triple tier 5s is kind of like well, except when Men at Arms and Wu Wei are very strong. There's more times I see triple tier 5s than I see two tier 5s and tier 4. Which again, two tier 5s and tier 4 was one of the more older and classic thing, but they pushed it to a triple tier 5 and it's dumb because again, it reinforces the idea that tier 5s are the best and that they're running on tier 5s only. Realistically, it shouldn't be happening like that. You should be using a more diverse range of tiers, and people should be trading cost effectively. I shouldn't there shouldn't it shouldn't be a scenario where everyone everyone just throws units at each other and they're killing whole swaths of the enemy with one efficiency trade. Everyone should be fighting against. Well, what I mean is that people should be able to use lower tier units to face off against stronger tier units and still be effective. Don't ever be. Shouldn't you shouldn't really need to all you shouldn't really always just get beaten up into oblivion just because you have a unit that's just lower tier. Or again, I don't like the counter system. I don't want to just get beaten up just because the unit that I'm facing counters me. Every single tier 5 infantry that I see on the floor beats up my shield unit. Why? I'm a shield unit that's supposed to be defensive, and I should be able to go toe to toe with all of these units. Even if I don't win, I should be able to either hold them or slow them down. Can't even slow them down most of the time, and they'll just rip me to shreds. That is like 99% of the time what a shield unit's experience is right now. It's not easy to balance, but there is definitely a lot of interactions that just makes no sense. Also, halberdier damage is still crazy high, and the fact that like even with super high burst, halberdiers are still ripping to shreds everyone, and they only have like a very simple 3,000 damage against two targets while in phalanx. So yeah, take that in. But they did get like masteries and stuff. So I mean, new mastery units: Krieg Fusiliers, Imperial Archers, Imperial Arquebusiers, Human, Rattan Marksmen, Iron Cap Bird Riders, Iron Cap Scout, Iron Cap Scout Cavalry, Prefecture Heavy Cavalry. Prefecture Heavy Cavalry was actually really disappointing, but it's really annoying to deal with. Obviously, the Iron Cap Scout Cavalry, strongest strongest buff you've ever seen. That multi-charge thing is just disgusting. Rattan Marksman, again, extra poison damage on top of extra poison damage on top of um, a poison debuff. Man, that's gotta be painful. Krieg Fusiliers, ammo on kill, disgusting. The Imperial Archer's mastery is pretty garbage. Actually, the actual rework to the Bodkin arrows was way more stronger than whatever the mastery could have given. Besides the fact that they increased the damage against infantry, like all infantry, by 400, which is absolutely crazy amount of damage, by the way, because like Imperial Archers before the mastery probably only hit for around about 2k maximum, and now they're hitting for 2.5k. What's up with that? Obviously, humans are very scary, even after the buff to the Winged Hussars, where they started doing 10k on max charge. Humans also do 10k on max charge. I think humans um, actually have a better cost efficiency for damage. Sorry, no, that's not even a question. That's not even a question. They have better cost efficiency for leadership on damage for a charge, and their charge is on a lower cooldown. That is crazy. ICAP Bow Riders could have been way better, but then again, like there's so many usability issues with mounted cavalry. First of all, arrows do not move fast enough. Their tracking is trash as well. So if you're shooting at a moving target, you'll never hit it. I've literally tried to chase down something as slow as Iron Reapers, and 60 to 70% of the shots missed when realistically they should be hitting. Iron Reapers was literally just walking away from me, and I was missing. Bonus event for players, again, War Token Exchange, best. Best change, really great change. Provides a large number of precious resources, including unit medals, scrolls of mastery to help sweep the battlefield. Also, the doctrine reagents; those are very good. Newbie players can get epic equipment and the powerful unit mace sergeants to quickly grow up. No, mace sergeants have been hilariously phased out. You don't see a mace sergeant at all. They cannot compete, not even on a cost-effective level. Mace sergeants just get put in the dirt. The only thing they're good against is shield units. Again, shield units just get crapped on by every single unit that in existence. Very few units come out with low block break. Everything basically has high block break, and I'm sure as hell don't think they're ever going to introduce a unit where they're going to struggle against a shield unit, which is hilarious because we don't because apparently we don't like defensive options, and also anything with a shield just it's also very hilarious because it's just like the block mechanic is super oppressive. You know how difficult it is to actually kill the paladins with a unit that does barely any block damage, or like use a unit that barely does any block damage and have it hit anything that has block. The one thing that always gets me is the Zweihander's obliterate. I forget what it's called, but it's like it's night defense and obliterate. But you use their brace and they use this follow-up attack, and they have block during that animation. I've not been able to break it. I've thrown units that will instantly pierce. Iron Reaper Charge didn't deal any damage to it. I don't know why it didn't deal any damage to it, but like the fact that I didn't get any damage is hilarious because Iron Reaper's flail it should be unblockable. Not to mention their attacks should near one shot most blocks. I've thrown cavalry at the Zweihanders, and if they press that ability at the right time, I've dealt zero damage against them. So again, block is hilariously OP in some circumstances, and I don't think they'll ever fix that, which is upsetting. Returning players are granted plentiful rewards by the exclusive treasuries, including epic schematic trait and selection of previous season 4-star units. Oh, that's interesting. Effectively relieving stress, not grinding anymore. No, I highly disagree. I mean, not grinding anymore. Get rid of the dailies again. Make it simple. Just let me do whatever. Change the three and the five to be both PvP and PvE, and then you've got a recipe for like yeah whatever. Or change it to be a weekly thing. I don't know. New Avalon season units. You got the Benavir Rangers, Trash Cavalry deals barely any damage. Also triple charge, just not even like Quarterliers are better with their 3-second charge. Galahad Spearman, really excellent unit. I think Galahads are underappreciated as a shield unit, mostly because no one uses them as a shield unit. I love using them as a shield unit. I hate getting beaten up without support, but that's what it's like to be a shield unit. Lancelot Knights. They've got a couple of things which makes everyone annoyed. That 7-second rapid advance, also the weird second attack coming out. 1 second of invulnerability, obviously just busted as hell. I don't like how people don't use their Lancelot dual technique. I honestly think that's a really cool ability and should basically be their base form. But since it's an ability, fine, whatever. Um, I think I think they could have done. I think there's too much damage in rapid advance that it's really overloading the Lancelot Knights as a whole. What players say? Galahad smashing the enemy in a flash. Lancelot living up to the name of the Knights of Knights. Again, I don't think any real player would have said that. Every single person doesn't would not say the Galahads are smashing the enemies. I think everyone would be like, Galahad's sniping with the Galahads are really cool. You always get a surprise hero kill as they fly across your thing, as they kind of like run across your uh, kill zone. Lancelot's Lancelot's rapid advance is obviously just broken. Oh, really love the death. I really love the ragdoll death effect. It's really hilarious. When enemy units are hit by strong impact or explosion, their bodies will be physically thrown away, enhancing the visual impact of the battlefield. Yep, absolutely excellent. It is hilarious. It's not realistic in a lot of circumstances, but it is perfect. It should have been. Um, this is the kind of thing where it's the small things that makes makes the game fun, and it has no impact on gameplay whatsoever. What players say, isn't it cool to see the enemy knocked and scattered? Yep, I think that a player would have said something similar to that, but I think it was more of like instead of a question, it would be more like watching watching units get ragdoll is hilarious. That's what I think a average player would have said. New Dragon Rise season units again. Feather Crossman, really cool. Unfortunately, they nerfed the melee too hard in for my liking, and also they kept the glass cannon amount of health. I mean, it's not the lowest, but for a tier 3, it is very high, especially for a ranged unit. It is almost 4,000, and the fact that they can increase their maximum health by 150%, meaning that they have 10,000 health for however long their ability lasts, probably like 8 seconds. But the Feather Crossbowmen are trash. Their damage is actually not that high. Nearly any other tier 3 unit would probably deal more, like, nearly any other tier 3 unit, tier 3 ranged unit would deal more damage, except for, like, Vipers, Shirt Diners, and, well, technically Namcans would if you count the bleed, but yeah, that's besides the point. I think even Vanguard archers would do more damage, hilariously. Better crossbowmen, again, the only cool thing is that they have a bit of CC, and they're really great at focus firing because their shots come in all at once. A lot of problems with range is how the shots come in one at a time or spread out. You don't feel it, and it hits different models all the time. But because of Feather Crossbowmen, especially when you activate their ability, it's it is 3 or 4 shots all together, as in a strong volley of just damage. It's not even fast, by the way. It's not like Bodkin. It's not like Bodkin arrow fast for like Imperial Archers, which literally doubles their attack speed. So they're basically shooting an arrow a second during Bodkin arrow. But Feather Crossbowmen pretty much are very similar in structure, and it's very strong and impactful this way, even if the DPS is actually not even that high. My example for the Imperial Archers, their damage during that time is actually higher than the Krieg Fusiliers. But the problem is that there's a startup and a cooldown. Krieg Fusiliers actually still deal more damage over time than Imperial Archers, but people feel like Imperial Archers are way more impactful because it's true. It is because the damage comes in all at once. So, Feather Crossbowman is the master of the dual weapon art. They use crossbows to shoot enemies and can also wield tang swords at them for close combat. Wow, what a terrible sentence right there. Again, no one will ever use the melee combat for the feather crossbowmen if if they ever cared about the feather crossbowmen. I honestly did it for the memes. Not for the memes because I felt like it was very thematic. Did I succeed? No. Every single tier 3 melee unit just trashed me into the bin. The only time where I would actually even win slightly is against serfs, or maybe a tier 3 that could have possibly been an iron cap swordsman, where I just had to tank the shot. And I'll be honest, their charge is so devastating that even some higher tier units would have just died. But the fact is that it's just, yeah, you wouldn't use the melee combat for the feather crossbowmen ever. You just wouldn't. The Wu Wei Mansion Guards, obviously everyone hates these guys because first of all, they play around with heroes by knocking them back like crazy, and it is not fun. It is not fun, but also they're just crazy strong. Basically, any meta unit before they were released would just completely wiped off the face of the earth. Everything that's come after them have now kind of tried to beat them, but they still are very strong. Like it is surprising that this unit has not been nerfed yet. They're stronger than what Oni Mushas were. They are worse to deal with than Oni Musha. Because Oni Musha, yeah, they had the damage. They were squishy though. They also held very also shield units held against them super well. Their block break was in the garbage. I've seen ISGs just stand in front of them and the Onimushas wouldn't deal enough damage to sustain against the ISG's damage. And that's hilarious. The Wu Wei Mansion Guards, I've seen them rip through a ISG in 4 spins. It takes a couple of spins. This is 4 spins. 4 spins into an ISG to kill it is really fast, by the way. So the Wu Wei Mansion Guards hold their giant pikes to knock the enemy away and sweep across their formations. I don't like the unit. Needs to be reworked entirely or changed back to the PTR version where they separated the abilities and make brutal sweep have a longer cooldown. I don't mind it then if it has a longer cooldown. It just means it's like a comeback thing where their main ability is their oh my god, Dragon's Claw Soul um Dragon Soul Rending Claw or something. Man, it has a really long name, and I bet it's really cool in Chinese, but in English it is very long and not great. Zhuangjia Heavy Cavalry can use their horse lances to slash or stab the enemy at close range or charge swiftly to shatter them into turmoil. Trash. Absolute garbage balance wise. These things are so strong, so good, and it is a crime to have them be virtually as strong as they are unnerfed. I mean, they got nerfed twice. The first nerf was an actual nerf. The second nerf was not a nerf. It was basically nothing. It basically went from, oh, this unit is basically not charging to, oh, this unit is now charging. So anti-cavalry units now actually affect this unit. It went from it it wasn't charging, so it didn't have certain weaknesses. Now it is technically charging. Now it has weaknesses. It is it's one of the fastest units in the game. First of all, that swift as lightning thing is definitely more. It feels like a 50%. It feels like a 50% speed increase, and they have a speed of 8. Don't forget they don't have sluggish, so they have a good turn rate, and they accelerate really fast. They have weapon veteran, one of the most crazy abilities we've seen since Yan. Well, I mean, Yan Yudao Dread Unleash has been the most crazy ability we've ever seen in PTR. It was super crazy. So actually, Heavy Cavalry Weapon Veteran is like that, but on steroids. Because previously they set it up to be a really low damaging thing, but it hit like 15 guys. Not even Dread Unleashed hit 15 people. It hit 12 people after veterancy. It hit 6 people by default. I think Zwanji Heavy Cat. I think of the last time I checked. Last time I remember um, seeing the patch notes, Weapon Veteran hits 8 people, and it hits for about 3k. At high speeds, I've seen this thing hit me for 8k at high speeds. Don't forget, there's high speed bonuses, and I don't even know how it factors in, but um, I've seen damage numbers in the 10Ks with high speed bonuses on the Zwanji Heavy Cavalry. Swift as Lightning is crazy strong. Weapon Veteran, crazy strong as well. The the Zwanji Heavy Cavalry is hilariously broken, and it still hasn't been nerfed properly. It remains as the best heavy cavalry unit for in terms of like just raw performance. But for cost, it's companion cavalries right now. There's 27 models, and you hit like a truck. You're basically infantry. You're basically a one-hit wonder infantry unit, and that's not even true because since you hit so hard, you're a cavalry unit, and you're very difficult to touch. There are times where infantry units cannot even hit companions without some on contact abilities. I've struggled I've struggled to deal with companion cavalries with the recently buffed Silidars. because of how fast they are and because of how they scatter through my unit. What players say, Wu Wei Matching Guards will never let you down. I hate this because, honestly, this is probably what players did say. I hate the fact that people liked the fact that Wu Wei Matching Guards were so strong. Enabling hardware technology support AMD, NVIDIA. Now, AMD FSR and the NVIDIA DLSS is fully supported in the game. After enabling, players can enjoy higher game frame rates and smoother combat experiences. What player says, better pictures and higher frame rate. New server architecture. Newbie server and growth server options are added. Newbie players can enter the newbie server first fist and grow into a great warlord without any pressure. When fully prepared, they can choose transfer their character to official servers and fight in a larger world. The dumb thing here is that the newbie servers and the growth servers are actually being filled with veteran players just abusing lower level players. So it didn't actually fix the issue. You just have higher tier players just going into lower tier games, just beating up on lower tier people who don't know better, which is hilarious. You can't stop them. It's still hilarious though. I don't like I don't like how we have to have this system in order to avoid a situation where a veteran player just has so much bonuses and stuff that there is an insurmountable gap that no matter how skilled the player is and no matter how smart the player is, they will never beat it. They will never be able to beat my raw stat increase. I've seen it. I've seen times where I have like this is especially true for like heavy armor. I'm a heavy armor hero. I walk into a low level lobby and no one can kill me. I'm literally not doing anything. I've used basic attacks and I hit harder than most of their abilities. Then again, all of their abilities are probably level 1. They probably have green weapons at that point. It's it's tragic. I've also had a situation where my tier 3 units fully decked out just had just beat up their tier 5 unit with, well, it probably wasn't even leveled and didn't have any, probably had green doctrines on it maybe, and I killed it. I didn't even do anything as a hero. I just killed it with my unit. Then again, it was, again, you can do that certain units and stuff, but it, that shouldn't happen. Like, I have to play better. I didn't. I honestly felt like I didn't, but I beat him, and it feels wrong because it's literally like there's nothing he could have done better. He just he just didn't have good stats. He just didn't have good units. It's just like this is a PvP game. I feel bad for the other person because it's not an even playing field. It's not a fair fight. First of all, it's not like, oh, he selected the wrong unit. He selected the unit that was probably his strongest unit, and I still beat it up with something that costs half as much leadership, but decked out with so much bonus crap that shouldn't exist in a PvP game anyway. Newbie players can still enjoy the game. That's probably more true than it was in any other scenario, but I still honestly think that new player experience is in the garbage because it's just still very bad. It's not going to get any better until they fix these issues surrounding progression. Global operation unification will bring Conqueror's Blade superior servers to ensure the technical stability of the game, more player community content, activities, and creative opportunities, global competitive events and tournaments to challenge top players from around the world, development of new game systems and features to continuously improve game experience, integration of technology and user support services to provide more comprehensive help and support. What players say? CBL Global Competition is coming again. Let's greet our old pals. I don't think anyone actually said that. I think this is the devs, but sure, it kind of it's really good that there is a global competition. CB has the potential for really cool games of skill and strategy that is really important. It's cool to watch when are battles are slower and you can see the action happening. If everything happens all at once and just if it happens too fast, sometimes it has happened too fast. And even if they did slow down the pace of the game, I just think it really needs to open up as well. I don't like seeing death balls a lot because it's really hard to see what units are doing what in a death ball, especially Iron Reaper death ball, because they're very tight. They're a very tight, very small amount of units. That's CBL stuff. Competition wise, great. I love to CBL and I want to see more of it. I expect another one to happen at the start of next year, and I'm going to be excited to watch that one as much as I was excited to watch this one. The one that's almost finishing. We still have the international champion. I'm gonna forget what they're gonna. I forget what kind of titles they got, but we have the Western and Eastern champions already selected. I think the second and first are going to fight it off. I mean, maybe. I don't know how they. I don't know how they're going to do this, but I think they're probably going to take the second and first of the Eastern, the Conquerors, the Eastern West Conquerors tournament and have them fight into an international one. So that's going to be cool if that does when that does happen. I'm not sure the time. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to commentate through all of it, but I hope I am. Battlefield replay function. I think this is still limited. I think they haven't released this yet. It allows players to relive past real-time battlefields with every detail of the battle observed through any angle adjusted at will. This feature is currently being tested to a small extent and will be open to future. Yeah, still being tested by a small number of people. I think the problem with this one is that the feature doesn't actually replay the battle. Instead, it re-renders the battle. It re-renders the battle um, depending on the outcome. So it's kind of like a scenario. It's kind of like a territory, not territory. It's kind of like the replay system for Total War. It's cool. It's good. But there'll be some inconsistencies. There'll be some inconsistencies that show up now and again. It's very hard to say what kind of consistencies they will be, but again, it will happen. We just don't know what it will show as. It's not a bug, it's just literally the inputs being calculated out just not incorrectly, but like it doesn't represent the actual outcome of the game or actual outcome of the situation as it was played in the game. That's my experience with the current replay system, but I think I don't have that anymore. I think I haven't tried it since then. Obviously, we have the all new Alexander season units. Silo Slingers, too cheap, very useless. Again, they should have just made this a replacement Surf unit at the current price they are. If they're going to go to 90, that's even worse. These guys realistically should have just had 10k health, drop the damage, make their stun thing, make their thing stun basically straight up, and increase the block break. Make it a utility based unit. Don't even think about making it a don't even think about making it deal damage. Do that, and it would have been a amazing unique unit to have because like because they don't deal any damage, you can give them health and stuff. Because the majority of what they're doing is dealing stuns and stuff. So um, you can they're pretty much worthless by themselves. Companion cavalry is best cavalry in the game. Um, the flex. Oh, let me just read out the things as well. The Xyloid, Xy, Loi, Loi, Xy, Xyloi, Xyloi slingers. I'm pretty sure someone who knows how to speak this word will crucify me, but I mean, I'm trying my best here. The fears, lapidation, I don't like that word, by slings could cause high armor piercing damage at medium and close ranges. That's untrue. It could deal high armor piercing damage at far ranges. A slinger, especially if the like if what is written is if, like what is written about is correct, could throw rocks harder and faster than bows. Now the problem here is that the sheer weight of the projectile, it hit a limit. Arrows arrows eventually got heavier, so the weight and energy produced was stronger, but getting hit by a rock by slingers, especially professional slingers back in the day, it would shatter. It would probably have shattered, especially like the bronze armor or even some the rudimentary like iron armor. Not even steel because they wouldn't even have like steel armor back in the day. But I mean, not fun. Not fun getting hit by a rock, let alone even with protection. So yeah, medium and close ranges, fine, whatever. You want to make it a medium range weapon? A meat like even medium range, like slingers could probably throw rocks like over 400 meters. Most bows would only be effective. I mean, nearly any range weapons comparative to like CB has ranges way above because arquebusiers, especially any of the guns, are like effective. Like could kill someone from like a kilometer away. And any of the like bows and stuff would be shooting well over 200 meters, their effective range. And even crossbows would be shooting would shoot an object. Whether or not it will kill something further than that is beyond me, but they would be shooting like crossbows could send an object flying um further than an arrow, but because of the draw length of the arm, um the energy exerted or the energy of the projectile is actually higher in the arrow than it is the bolt because of the shorter draw length because of the shorter length of the projectile. Somehow the flight don't worry about that. I mean, what I'm just talking out my ass now, but um I think slingers are underappreciated, and I think they could have done something cool with the slingers. I think I think they just went with a path that just didn't make sense, and they're just not reconciling what they want the unit to be. And again, I think all ranged units shouldn't have glass cannon amount of health. Silio slingers, particularly because of how cheap they are, they should have went the route of being replacement serfs and had a very unique stun and block break style projectile. That way, they had something unique, and there would be a reason why people bring them because they're cheap, so they're replacement serfs, and because they're very impactful in a way that doesn't equal damage, so they're much more useful in scenarios where you're trying to piss off the enemy or catch the enemy. Companion cavalry is obviously the flexible use of dual weapons help them adapt to a variety. No, that's a bloody lie. It doesn't even matter if they're using their lance or the sword. So I don't even know what they're going with this one. Variety of battlefields and their agility allows them to launch guerrilla combat at the right time. Agility, launch guerrilla combat, fine, whatever. Guerrilla, guerrilla here is I don't even know if they're even using it in the right context. But fine, that makes sense. Their agility is really good. They're one of the fastest cavalry in the game because they have speed buff that so they have a base speed, or they can get a base speed of really really high. I think it's like 11 or 13. The only cavalry that I think that would be even faster than companion cavalries is the heavy prefecture cavalry, but because of their inbuilt passive, companion cavalries are actually faster than even heavy prefecture cavalry unless you count doctrines. So you need a doctrined out heavy prefecture cavalry to beat companion cavalries with just their passive. And I'm pretty sure I've ran this test, but um, heavy cavalry, I cannot get heavy cavalry to be faster than companion cavalries when everything is said and done, which is hilarious because they have a 12 base speed. You got 40% increase of speed, so I don't even want to know what I'm gonna do with like 27 lightning fast cavalry that hit for 10k. Uh, yeah, best cavalry tier 4 as well. I mean, best cavalry for leadership. Um, obviously hits like a truck, hits lots of guys, has a lot of guys. Sunward's phalanx, long spears grasped in hand, large round shield tied to arm. They can form an mobilizable spear bastion to tear the enemy apart. Again, I don't like the wording for this, but Sunward's phalanx best pike unit in the game, long reach, very very difficult to deal with the stun on brace. There are some cases where dealing with the I forget what it's called, the blue shield immunity thing, very very annoying to deal with, but it's fairly easy. It's fairly easy once those two things are dealt with, and you get right on top of these guys. If anything is protecting them, they're just really annoying to deal with. They're not particularly strong. They're just really annoying to deal with. And this is kind of the case where it's just like if Silio Slinger is just basically stunned on every hit, they would basically be like the Sunward's Phalanx, but for a tier 3 range unit with like half the cost. Sunward's Phalanx stun like every single polearm unit with stun on brace is very difficult to deal with because there's not very many units that you can use that just straight up ignore stun on brace. And I've had many times where I'm using a unit that doesn't have stun on brace and I have no tools to break up the formation to stop them long enough for me to overwhelm them, and I've just literally just walked in and just got stunned to oblivion. And you can't do anything about it. Can't do anything about it because the stun is overlapping in such a way that your unit can't do anything. They deal enough damage where you're going to die in a few seconds, or even if you don't die in a few seconds, you can't get your unit on top of your unit on top of the Sunward's Phalanx because you can't get anywhere near them because they have a long ass range. Not that like their damage is anything good. Their damage is pretty pathetic for like their leadership cost. Nearly any of the like other brace um other brace units deal more damage. Even though there's 40 of them. The only thing that I would say is like if you doctrine these guys out for damage, they get a higher percentage increase than any of the other units because there's 40 of them and they have a low base. So a 50 you can get like a 50-60% damage increase versus everyone else's like 20-30% increase, which is hilarious because it actually makes them deal more damage in the end than like before. But that's besides the point. Sunward's Phalanx is a strong unit that like when used in the proper context or in the used proper situations, they're more than annoying to deal with. They're just sometimes impossible to deal with because of the advantage they have. Alone, certain matchups absolutely would crush this unit into oblivion. I mean, if you have a shield unit, they don't, you walk straight up to them. The moment you're on top of them, you just kill them all. That is like one of the worst things for Sunward's Phalanx is for a unit to be able to get on top of them and them not being able to stop them. First of all, like if if you can't stop them, you can't stun them, and they're on top of you, um, you're going to die. You don't deal very much damage, so you're not going to be trading your health for damage, and especially since you have a dead zone, you won't deal any damage. What players say Sunward's Phalanx the invincible god of war in the head-on fight? Absolutely not. In a head-on fight, you never want to fight. You never want to fight Sunward's Phalanx in a head-on fight. Why? Because if you run into the pikes, yeah, you're silly. You're an idiot. So you're never going to hit a straight fight with Sunward's Phalanx. If you do, the enemy is either being pinned for you, or the enemy is stupid and think they can tank charging into a brace formation, which 9 times out of 10 would lead to more losses than if they just walked at you. But maybe that could also count as like head-on fight. So visual update of in-game environment. New shadow rendering function has drastically improved the details of map object um, background and natural scenery and make the picture clearer, more exquisite and vivid, providing great immersive sense for players. What players say, more realistic and more magnificent. Sure, it looks great. Unfortunately, no one cared for like everyone cared for like 2 seconds before they just ignored it. Battle settlement optimization added the following battlefield evaluation based on player performance. Yes, this needed to be needed, and definitely for rank, these deeds are amazing, but should realistically the points section should reflect better. And again, most damage taken, they need a fixed units for this to make sense because there are definitely very many offensive units that like Iron Reapers for one will have very high damage taken and very high damage dealt. Uh, MVS support points again. This is broken as well. Certain support units get way more support points than anything else. Alchemist, I'm talking about you. For some reason, these alchemist things are just crazy amounts of support points for no apparent reason. MVO, so for the player with the most contribution. This is probably the most objective one that I can't see anything that's unfair. You either deploy artillery, destroy artillery, or capture the point. That is all you can do. That's it. Push siege weapon counts as well, but straight up, you deploy artillery, counts as contribution points. You destroy artillery, counts as contribution points. You capture the point, or you push siege weapons. That's it. That's all the contribution points methods you can get, and that is very important as well. So objectively, this is the most objective player. Like whoever gets this is playing objective. Well, maybe. I mean, pushing siege weapons don't have to be objective. Artillery might not have to be objective. It could be a situation of circumstances, but it it doesn't. There's nothing that seems unfair. If you deploy an artillery, you deploy an artillery. You're wasting your resources, or you're using your resources. Not everyone deploys an artillery in game. You are limited though, so there's no reason not to. But I've seen many ranked games that doesn't come down to just everyone spamming artillery. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes the battle's so fast that artillery don't even get placed down by the time the enemy dies. Or the artillery is up for like 2 seconds, get one shot off, and gets destroyed immediately. What players say, see my contribution now? I think someone says that sarcastically. I can imagine people saying that. But as in a response to someone asking. All new training camp. Yeah, this is amazing. I think the training camp could be better, but it is better. It is better than what we had. Free training camp. You can try all types of weapons and artilleries in the training battlefield. Unit training camp. All units are available for you to try, whereby you can improve battlefield performance or evaluate if certain units is worth of being unlocked. Excellent. Absolutely amazing. Trial periods are the best. You want to try a unit out? Go to unit training camp. I think the new units as well sometimes get not the new units, sorry. The new units won't get added, but definitely for older units, you want to kind of test them out, at least in limited capacity, to see what they do. And sometimes you can just tell straight away if something is good or not. What players say. Anyway, as to the all new unit trial, you can see that our developers finally got a brainwave. I don't know who wrote this. Whoever wrote this either didn't speak English or um I again, like I feel like like a real person did not write this. That's all I'm gonna say. I do believe that probably players have said something similar, but I've never seen anyone, or I don't believe anyone would ever put it like this. Because there's just so much wrong with this sentence that I don't know how to explain it. Or I know there's something's wrong with this sentence, but I don't know how to explain it. Oh man. Two more articles, and I have ran this video so long. I just hope people bother to watch this long. But the first 20 minutes, the first 15 minutes was literally the actual update. These are just add-ons. Northern Lion, so this is just the update. Lion of the North, Aurora's Glory, and Northern Lion Attire Showcase. I don't know what Aurora's Glory is. Aurora's Glory. Okay, so Aurora's Glory, probably the name of the attire we got. North Lion attire should be the name of the unit attire. My guess. When Gustav Adolphus Gustav, man, you know, I'm just going to just quickly.
Gustavus Adolphus.
Okay, that was pretty shit, but Adolphus landed in North Germany with his army, intervening in the long-running 30 Years' War. The free imperial cities regarded him with skepticism. How can these barbarians from a distant winter, who couldn't even equip their cavalry with proper armor, defeat the imperial army under the Habsburg battle? Yeah, I don't know history very well, so. The proportions of the units make me very worried because the horses look ginormous in comparison to the guys riding. They are hilariously tiny. And also, I'm very sorry if I blown out anyone's ears because that was very loud, even for me. So, Aurora's Glory design notes, it was not until after the Battle of Rainsfield that the independent city-state within the Holy Roman Empires realized the profound transformation that had taken place within the Northern reinforcement. They began to rally around this king even as his enemies began to learn from him. Again, Aurora's Glory looks great for both of them. I don't know why the female's face reminds me of Keira Knightley. I can't see anything from the male one. The weird thing here for this one is that the male's left-handed in this case. Not that I care too much. I'm just pointing it out, and also mismatched gloves. I don't like I don't like how weird this corset ends up and how far it goes up in between the cleavage, and also that the fact that it has a boob window in between all of this, that just makes no sense to me. Like, I don't like that actually. What is this flare at the bottom? I thought that was just a boot. Fingerless glove on this side, but not fingerless glove on this side, so confusion much? Attire wise, the more I look at it, I can point out some things that I don't like, but generally, I like the color scheme. It's got a little bit of blue in it, and it's got some nice, cool black, brown, gray. I mean, it's got a little bit of blue, and it's got threads of yellow, which are nice. I very like it. The hats, however, as well, you got two different layers of hats. The feathers are also completely different. I think they should have been the same. Again, no breastplate for the female one. Why is there no breastplate? You got a breastplate on the male one, but no breastplate on the female one, and also you got this weird gauntlet thing on the male one, but no weird gauntlet thing on the female one. So make the attires make sense. Either you have them be the same, or you have two attires for both of them. You could make a very similar attire for the male one that looks similar to the female one. And you could make a female one that looks similar to the male one and have two different attires. Like, it's not hard. I just don't know why they didn't do it. And not a match set as well, either. Because, again, it doesn't work that way. Rumor had it that the new King of the North was an eccentric man. He disliked um, etiquettes and rarely attended high society gatherings. Instead, he preferred to spend his time in workshops with engineers and mathematicians, discussing obscure theories that would make ordinary people eyelid droop after a few sentences. Court attendants even attested to seeing the king disguised as an officer sneaking into other countries to inspect their armies and arsenals, often putting himself in danger. Yet he reveled in it. He was more like a general or a ranger than a king. However, only those closest to him knew that the king had long foreseen the dark clouds gathering over the western world. A great war was coming, and as king, only by surpassing the times could he make the name of the Northern Kingdom resound throughout the world. Obviously, this looked like they stitched a couple of concepts over on top of each other. The sword, the sword here, in very incomplete. So, I mean, it's either an AI generation fixed up by an artist, not very well, by the way, or several images being stitched on top of each other. Particularly the faces don't match very well to their attire, and weirdly, it's either flat or lacks definition. Like the proportions are off somehow. Primarily inspired by the attires of musketeers and what? What? I mean, all right, sure. And military nobilities during the 30 Years' War. I'm not sure about this history very much, but like that doesn't scream musketeers to me. Besides the hat, even then. The female attire is based on the sword training garb of Queen. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if someone could check this, but I'm not going to. Sword training garb of Queen Christina, Gustav's daughter, while the male attire reference historical depictions of Gus, Gustavus himself. So again, I'm not sure about that, but I don't I don't think they needed to take attires like this and separate them into male and female. I think they could have made inspiration for both male and female from the attire of the Queen Christina, and again, Gustav himself, a male and female one. There is no reason to have completely different inspiration for the male one and the female one, especially since have they don't seem to have very similar theme. They're definitely from the same region, but they're not used in the same context. Like they're designed completely separate. They're designed separately. And similarly, the next one is also the same thing. Northern Lion attire design. So this is called the Northern Lion attire. So as Gustav Alphonsus arrived at Luzern under a shroud of fog, Generalissimo. I'm gonna whatever. Wallenstein and his 20,000 elite troops awaited the king, eager to crush them before imperial reinforcements arrived, charged into the thick fog with his royal guards. So Northern Lion one. Again, you got this weird combination. One side has armor, other side doesn't. Where is the breastplate? Where like you've got armored gauntlets up to the elbow. You got armor up to the elbow. Fine. Where's the pauldrons? Where's the breastplate? I don't like the thighs too much. It looks cool because it's the female attire, but I'd rather she wear pants and have longer sleeves, obviously. Again, where are the like you have armor pieces on one side, but you don't have armor pieces on the other side. You also have this weird lion thing that makes it look like a king and queen set, but you don't have anything symbolizing a royalty on the other one. So what's up with the color scheme? You got this like heavy silver pattern, then you got this heavy blue pattern with a golden crown. So it just looks weird. That simply means that these two attires are just, again, designed completely differently. Not to mention, this is a really cool uniform. I like this. I like this uniform. It looks great. Why isn't she wearing one? And again, both of them look like cool attires that could have made two different armor sets. One male, one female, and another male. Like you could have made four. You could have made four attires out of these two design ideas. And it's tragic that it didn't come to fruition. Brigands massacres blood. Brigands massacres plunder blood in the dark years of war. A hopeless night enveloped all, as if hell had returned to earth. People, numb and driven mad, slaughtered each other. It was then that the roar of the Lion of the North tore through the heavy darkness. His cannon drove back the demons' disguises meant. His sharp blades severed their ignorance. People remembering the prophecy. The Northern Star herald the arrival of the Lion, who will bring light back to the world. The king from then on was seen as a symbol of transcendence. All believed that the king, clad in the symbol of the morning star, forever charging at the forefront of his army, would lead the world out of the darkness, through the fog, and towards the future of their dreams. Based on Gustav's image at the Battle of Lutzen, emphasizing his title of Warrior King. I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not going to fact check that. The cape on his back bears the imagery of the morning star. Would be cool if I could see it. Um, Alluding to the prophecy of astrologies that Gustav, as the Lion of the North, would become the savior of the West. The lion-shaped helmet emphasizes his title, Lion of the North. I honestly don't like the helmet. The helmet just looks weird to me. The fires of war intensify as witness the revolution in warfare on September 19th. So, from everything I've seen, sure. Like, it's great that they have a lot of inspiration from history. I just don't like what the outcome was. Both of the attires being different this way is terrible. It's upsetting because you'll definitely get a preference. For this one, they both look great. For this one, I'd rather the female one, but I'm playing male, so I have to get the male one. I hate the helmet. I like the officer uniform, so I'm just in a conflict where it's just like I don't like these greaves. I not the greaves. I don't like these gauntlets on this uniform with this helmet. But I have to wear these gauntlets for no goddamn reason. So I'd rather the female one who has a more complete and uniform attire because it makes sense even though some things are off. But that's also because it's a female armor set. The female and the male one for the level 1 looks great by themselves. And again, there's no real preference for me for either like the female or the male one looking better. They both are very consistent themes that work throughout. They're just really terrible that we didn't get this light the like you could have made a very similar outfit for the males wearing something very similar or as light because you could just remove the armor pieces and just have whatever he's wearing, like give him a shirt or something, and it looks almost just as cool. But give both the breastplate, give both the gauntlet. You could definitely make it work. In my head, anyway. Rateia Pistolier just from the image alone. I think I'm going to be afraid of if the riders are too small for their horses. I think the horses in this case will probably be too big in comparison to how like this image shows me that they can't even reach the stirrups. Like, did they undersize this unit somehow? The models for this unit is undersized somehow. But the Raytail Pistoliers, I would be excited to test them out. They are another ranged cavalry, and especially for tier 3 cavalry, um, it's kind of cavalry has very little variety when it comes to what you use. It's either special or lance. You only really use the Iron Caps scouts out of the melee cavalry, and the ranged cavalry is non-existent because they're shit. And okay, maybe you'll use the Iron Cap Road Riders, but that's really a flex pick than anything else. No one actually uses that to win. Obviously, we also had one CB, one world. So again, these are important. These are kind of like important things, but you don't really need to know about this until something happens. Greetings, Warlords. We have been working on forming a global community over the past couple of months, with some important steps taken already. Ever since welcoming our Western community back into the fold of Porous Interactive, we have, well, I say back into the fold, but realistically, Porous Interactive is just a new thing. But we have taken more and more steps to unify the CB experience for players around the globe. Today, we have some important announcements that affect a large part of our fantastic communities that we think will spark a lot of joy amongst you. These will take effect when the new season starts on 19th of September 2024. Please read the following carefully. One CB, one world. Our aim is, well, with this move is to tie our communities much closer together and empower you to truly participate in our global economy. We want you to feel a greater sense of belonging, of camaraderie, and healthy competition. To that end, we have planned a lot of improvements to how we are running CB moving forward. Global community events with cross-server competitions, global matchmaking for special events, cross-server friending, and oh, that is amazing. Cross-server friending and teaming, make friends and enemies globally. That this especially for Asia, since we have multiple servers for Asia. I mean, North America and EU also have multiple servers, but this is amazing. So many times my friends have moved over to like JC or DI, and I was stuck in LA, and I was just like, I have no friends here. No one wants to play with me. I had to follow them sometimes. Sometimes they move server again, and I was just like, why do you do this? It costs money to move servers, by the way. So that is amazing. That is great. Easily create characters on any server through Steam. No more IP block. Yay! That should have never been a thing. You should have, again, like anytime you don't have access to any server, you're getting the worst experience possible because you don't have every single option. And it's really hilarious sometimes because sometimes sometimes the communities, especially for Australians, um, we rather play with 300 ping, but with other English speaking English speaking players. It's not nice spending all your time playing with people you don't understand. And the majority of people that I play with speak in languages I don't understand at all. At all. So I get barely any interaction. I know they're saying something. I don't know what they're saying. I imagine that they're just angry at me for being terrible at the game, but that's only a guess. So maybe they're just being friendly and saying hi. Our ultimate goal here is to build a world where everyone can connect with. Oh wait, global website and store. Again, website should have been a thing from the beginning, and store. I don't know why. Like the unified global website made no sense. They split it. Global.conquerorsblade.com. Like why? They should have just used their Conqueror's Blade website, and it should have just kept working. I don't know they had to why it was region locked in the first place. Or they continue to region lock it because the global one I was able to access early on, but they IP blocked it at some point for no apparent reason. I understand if they made the global one because they couldn't IP unblock the Conqueror's Blade one at the time. Sure, some band-aid fix until they un IP blocked it, but it just made no sense why they IP blocked it. So it's like trying to one step forward, two steps back kind of scenario. Okay. Our ultimate goal here is to build a world where everyone can connect with everyone, no matter which server you are part of. As you can see above, we have a lot of plans with the start of the new season. Our global community unification, which will be packed with fun events that emphasizes the global nature of our game. And in the future, we even want you to participate in cross-continental territory wars. This is an extension of our unification efforts that we implemented last month, and each of these points will get more details. The previous update balanced the in-game economy and shop to get rid of different items and software pricing. Now everyone's values are the same, no matter which server you join, and best of all, we reduced prices of a majority of shop items to enable more players to enjoy benefits. In this step, we also introduce our new approach to monetization where we focus more on vanity and skins rather than progression in game. That should have been the start from the beginning. This should be removed. There should be zero progression in game for the context of match made PvP. I don't mind progression on a kind of territory war scale. You can create player progression in territory war where time equals progression and you put time into it, you get the benefit. That fine. But PvP sense, you're just loading up against someone else, fighting it out, and just hoping for the best. You're playing against skill and mechanics, whatever. I don't want a scenario. I This is why I actively underpower myself sometimes. I use units with no doctrines because I don't like doctrines. I don't like being having units so strong that I don't like having units so strong that statistically they cannot even beat my unit. I use a unit with I use a tier 5 unit with full doctrines and stuff. It shreds through the enemy team. One time, and I mean like this is my fault as well, I used Iron Reapers just after they got buffed, and I was just like, oh, let me just go pretty hard. I ended up with those Iron Reapers killing 200 units. It wasn't fun because, I mean, it was fun at the time because I felt unstoppable. But then I thought about it. I was just like, it's not like the players didn't try. There were definitely like a lot of situations where, that looked a bit scuffed. I should have probably lost, but I still won. I mean, honestly, getting 200 kills with any unit should be, I don't know how to say. You should be like, oh man, I was so good that game. I was just like on point. I wasn't. I just threw Iron Reapers into any situation that I ran into, and I just steamrolled through the enemy. I didn't even care. I was just trying to kill my unit. I put it in the worst situation. I had a 1v5 one time. I still won. That's the sad reality of what can happen. And I didn't I didn't like it. The more I just felt like I didn't need to do anything because they can't do anything against me. And it's not because I was good at the game. I was shit. I'm definitely not good at the game. Don't even think that I'm like good at the game because I know about this game. I know a lot about this game, but if you actually see me play, you'll see me make so many mistakes, and I'm such an idiot, and I'm super aggressive as well. I'll throw myself into some situations where it's just like, there's like three other people on the other side. Yeah, I don't care. I'll just fight. I'll fight all three of you. I want situations where it's difficult. I want situations where I actively have to try. But sometimes I also get to a stage where it's just like, this is bullshit. Why did he like every time I face off a chain dart, chain dart and scimitar, I I don't I just stop. I just straight up just engage. Just like I know exactly what he's going to do the moment I hit him. He's just going to smoke out. I'm going to be slowed, and I can't even touch him. He's going to either slash me, choke me, or throw darts at me. And I know the exact sequence the moment he throws out his first attack. It's dumb and it's oppressive because there are very limited things I can do sometimes. And sometimes I only have one chance, and he's got about 50 billion chances to hit me with a stun. This is an extension of our unification event that we implemented last month, and each of these points will get more details. And the previous update balanced the in-game economy and shop to get rid of blah 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 blah. We are focusing on vanity and skins rather than regression in the game. We hope this eases new players into the game, reduce some of the friction that CB has had to game progression. You haven't removed progression, you just made it so that you can't pay for it. You can still pay for units. And by God, if the new unit is OP, people are going to pay for that. You know exactly what you're doing, but it's. Are you going to stop? I doubt it. I don't think anyone doubts that they're going to stop making the new unit strong so people buy it. This new system was introduced in the first iteration as a luxury commodity, and we understand that more players want to participate in such systems in the future. Thankfully, this iteration was successful and will enable us to broadly develop in this direction. We got a lot of feedback from you about what you'd like to see in the next iteration, and we hope you will like it. Unified presence. With the beginning of the next seasons in our quest to build truly global communities, we will implement the following changes. So, Steam merge. We will merge our Western Steam page, X My Games, into our original Porous Steam page, CB Frontiers, now simply called Conqueror's Blade. The current situation of having two different Steam pages is a vestige of our old publishing relationship with My Games. Since we are publishing the game now globally ourselves, having a fractured Steam presence is a hindrance and can actually be confusing to new players as well. We decided that we are going to change that moving forward and only have one Steam page globally to emphasize the global nature of CB. Again, should have been fixed with the merge. Really, really, really important that whoever's running Porous Interaction as a publisher should have fixed this when they picked up My Games. The fact that they didn't, and the fact that they just kept it fractured, means that they weren't ready. Weren't ready to merge, and definitely weren't ready to pick up the slack that My Games gave them. But at the same time, they needed to get the data from My Games before they could do the merge, which is very important. All right, number two, new launcher. For those of you not using Steam, we will combine two different versions of the official launcher. In other words, starting from the new season, the launcher will be unified into one. However, we will try our best to lighten out your burden. You won't need to re-download the launcher. The old launcher will auto upgrade to the new version. Let me also reveal to you that the new launcher has a completely new upgrade and design, and everyone only needs to download the client. Yay! Unified website. We will merge the two websites into one CB global website and remove all IP block restrictions. That should have been removed. That no reason to have any of those restrictions have been added when they created the global Conqueror's Blade. I don't know why they added it later on. It's just really upsetting. So we have unified So we have a unified hub to look for information and also the same web shop. Once the merge is complete, all players on those servers are required to download the game again as required by Steam. While we can't change that, we are currently working with Steam to reduce the download burden as much as possible. All in all, every player on every server is not allowed now allowed to freely create every new characters on every other server. Yay! We know quite a few players are already doing this, so this change is going to make that much easier for you in the future. Now you can prove that your house is definitely better at CB than the noobs in the other region. Which server are you going to haunt first, and what is your battle cry? We are also working on possible ways for you to transfer your current characters to other servers. However, this won't be part of the new season start yet, and we will come back to this one once we are more to share. So probably next season, not the one coming, but the season after the next one coming, they'll probably be able to open up these servers for everyone to kind of go to. Stay tuned into the up. Oh, this is a very nice screenshot because it shows off that there are different regions for these servers. So the Asia Pacific one, the European one, the Americas one, Middle East one, and the tournament one. The tournament one is very important. I think that it's going to be very difficult to identify if they're not named correctly. So I'm pretty sure they're just going to have uh, like the Asia tournament, European tournament, American tournament, Middle Eastern tournament. That'll be fine. Stay tuned to the upcoming announcements related to our in-game and community events during the Unification celebration. A live stream with the developers will be held on September 14th. You will be first to revel in more details about our roadmap, the new season, and first-hand information about the upcoming changes. Yours, the CB Dev team. Again, all good stuff. Sorry for this extra long video. I know it's 2 hours of me talking, but I think that I really didn't want to break this up into multiple videos. And if you guys did watch until the end, thank you very much. I hope you guys enjoyed. But other than that, my name's Azakai. Have a nice day. Bye for now.